This is the second tutorial for Unit 2. In this tutorial, you'll learn how to use pseudocode to plan out your programming in a way that others can understand regardless of their programming background. In this example, as we indicated the sequence with our numbers, we should see that there's going to be at least 10 steps. So as we list out each step in the pseudocode, we want to make sure we break it down into precise language and measurable outcomes. So let's take a look at the previous example that we showed. So here was the initial example that we had when we looked at the opening slide. And you can see we had 9 different steps here. And then if you look at the pseudocode, you'll see for step 1, I want to drive forward. In this case, I listed out 1600 millimeters. Now, where did I get 1600 millimeters from? Well, if you look at the playing field, each of these blocks represents 200 millimeters of travel or 200 millimeters of distance. So if I count the blocks, I have 200, 400, 600, 800, 1000, 1200, 1400, 1600, or 1600. All right. So that's how much travel I'm going to do in this first leg or this first segment. And then I'm going to turn right. In my case, I want to turn right 90 degrees, all right, or a right angle. So if you look over here, I said turn right. Now, is that very specific or precise? No, because if I tell a robot to turn right in programming, then it's just going to keep turning right until I tell it to stop. And I haven't really told it where I want it to stop turning. So I would be better served by saying turn right 90 degrees. So I can come in here and I can say 90 degrees, which is a right angle. All right. Down here, I said drive forward 800 millimeters. So at this point in this code, I've turned right. I'm now facing to the right. So I'm going to drive forward 800 millimeters. Well, I got 200, 400, 600, 800 millimeters, right? So I count out the blocks. That's what I got. All right. Now, I'm then going to turn right 90 degrees, come down another 800, turn right 90 degrees, move forward another 800. It's not until I get here that I have to turn left. Everything else is right turns. So what does that tell me? Well, I could probably do a lot of copying and pasting for this, right? So once I do this turn here, it's right turn 800 straight, right turn 800 straight, right turn 800 straight. So let's look at the pseudocode. I got right turn 800 straight. So it's possible I could just go in here and highlight and then Control C to copy and then Control V to paste. Control V to paste. All right. Now at that point, I know that I'm going to do a left turn. How far am I going to turn left? Well, every other time I've turned left, I've turned 90 degrees. So in this case, I'm going to turn 90 degrees again. All right, because it's a right angle or a right turn. And then I'm going to drive forward, excuse me, another 800 millimeters. And that's the pseudocode for the letter P. So let's take a look at our example down here for the letter K. So for the letter K, I want to drive forward. Well, how far do I want to drive forward? Remember, we said we want to use precise language and we want it to be measurable outcomes. So measurable meaning what's the distance? So I have 2, 400, 600, 800, 1000, 1200. All right. And if I do another block, that's 1400. All right. If I'm halfway into that block, like I am now, all right, it's only going to be 1300. All right. I'm going to use nice round numbers. So we'll go 1400 and you'll see why in a minute. So my first step in my pseudocode is I'm going to go to step 1. I'm going to drive forward 1800. Oh, sorry. We said 1400, right? Yeah, 1400, 1400 millimeters. Now, in this one, did I turn? No, because it's the letter K, I just want to back up. So I could turn around, right, 180 degrees, so I'm facing back, and then come back to the center. Or I can just say drive in reverse. So in this case, I'm going to take this one, step number 2, and I'm going to drive reverse I want to go halfway, right? I want to come back halfway. So I have 1,400. Half of 1,400 is 700. So we divide that 1,400 by 2, we get 700 millimeters. So now I've backed up to my midpoint and I need to turn so I can go out and do this leg, right? So I'll go back to my pseudocode. We said we're going to turn. We're turning. All right. Our direction is going to be to the right. And the question was how far? So if you recall in the last video, I said if your angles that you're turning bisect corner to corner to corner, the diagonals of these squares, right? Meaning it goes through those corners, or is at least parallel to going through those corners, then that tells me I'm at a 45-degree angle. So I'm going to turn 45 degrees to the right. So I'm turning right 45 degrees. My next step, I'm going to go up. Now, how far am I going? Well, I got 1, 2, 3 blocks. So that's 200. All right, 400, 600. And I know it's going to be a little bit more because I'm not going straight with the block. I'm going across the diagonal. So the diagonal is a little bit longer. Sorry. So in this case, instead of going just 600 blocks, I'll try going 700 blocks. Right. So now I'm going to go back over here to my pseudocode and I'm going to drive forward and I'm going to drive reverse 700 blocks. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy, then come down here and paste. I'm going to make it so they're both 700. That brings me back to my middle. So now what am I going to do? Well, I got to turn again. Now over here, I'm at 45 degrees. So to get back down to this angle here, it's 45. And then to get down to this angle, it's another 45. So 45 plus 45 gives me 90 degrees. So I'm going to turn right 90 degrees from where I'm at, from the angle I'm on right now. So turn right 90 degrees. And then what? Well, guess what? The last time I copied something, it was my drive forward and reverse. So I'm going to hit Control P, or Control V to paste, sorry. And I'm going to set this to 700 and 700 again. And guess what? All right, I got most of my K drawn. So what am I missing? Remember at the beginning of this, we said I'm going to have at least 10 steps. And I only got 8. So let's go back here. Oh, here's the last 2 steps. So I got to go another 45 degrees, and then I need to come straight down. All right, I'm at the midpoint. So coming straight down means another 700. All right, so I'll go back to my pseudocode, and I'm going to turn right 45 degrees, and I'm going to drive straight. All right, I'm driving forward 700 millimeters. And the last thing I want to do is I'm going to turn left 90 degrees. Why am I turning left 90 degrees? Well, chances are by the time I get all the way back here, I'm now pointing down with my robot. Okay, so I need to turn back, right? And that would be a left-hand turn or a counterclockwise turn. You turn back to face this way. Why do I want to face this way? Because if I have a second initial, like the initial for my last name, I'm going to need to come somewhere over here next to start drawing that second initial, probably. Right? Now, what's missing from this? Well, we said in the challenge that you need to use a pen to draw. All right. And when you get into the code in the last video, you're going to see that there are options for us to put the pen down and pick the pen back up. All right. So for instance, I might want to say, put the pen down, drive forward, pick the pen up, drive back, turn, put the pen down, drive forward, pick the pen up, come back, turn, put the pen down, drive forward, pick the pen up, come back. You see how that works. Now, depending on your letter, you might just leave it down. You might just say, put the pen down, go forward, back, forward, back, forward, back, turn, and then forward. But by the time you get back down here and you move on to the next letter, you're probably not going to want to have a segment that goes from the starting point all the way over to your next letter. You're probably going to want to have a break there. So the last step I would do in this code would be to pick the pen up so it's not drawing. All right. So that should be it for your pseudo code, right? If you had the letter K, that might work for you. Okay, but keep in mind there are additional steps because there should be a second initial. So make sure you have all your steps listed in there. Um, Incidentally, if you need to change the size of this text because your text doesn't fit, you got too many steps, all right, you can always do that. You can reduce the size if you need to. If you only have a few steps because you have a rather simple set of initials, then make it bigger so it's easier to read. In the next step, you're going to want to be able to kind of use this to help drive your programming. All right, good luck. All right, when you're done with this, move on to the next video.